कथामृतम् तप्तजीवनम् कविभिरीडितम् कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना. So the Master and Vijay Goswami. So we will continue from the section where we have ended in the last class, that ego alone is the cause of bondage. Vijay: Sir, why are we bound like this? Why don't we see God? Master: Maya is nothing but the egotism of the embodied soul. This egoism has covered everything like a veil. All troubles come to an end when the ego dies. As in the last class, we were indicating that ego is the echo of the self through the body-mind complex. That how the ego develops, that when the non-dual consciousness, the ultimate reality behind this entire existence, which alone exists, everything else is a mere projection, that non-dual consciousness, when, because of ignorance, appears as the mind, as the embodied beings, and that consciousness gets reflected in the embodied beings, that reflection of the consciousness in the limited body-mind complex results in ego. As we were indicating, even in the last class, that in the sky there is the sun, and in the ocean there are innumerable waves. If you look at the waves, you will find each and every wave has a reflection of the sun. The sun is one, but as reflection in each and every wave, it is innumerable, it is many. So, the Brahman is one, the soul, the ultimate reality behind the existence is one. But when it gets reflected through these embodied beings, it appears as many. Each and every reflection speaks of each and every individuality with its confined ego. So that's how the one has become many. Now, how the evolution has started. It is all the evolution. In Vedanta, we will find the Vedanta never denies the evolution. That it agrees that yes, the creatures do have evolved. But why that evolution has happened? So that's the thing which we were indicating in the last class. With that discussion, we concluded. What's that? That ego is the echo of the self through the body-mind complex. That suppose, let us take this example. I am standing in front of a mountain and I shout out my name. My name is echoed back from the mountain, giving me a delusion. What's the delusion? Resulting in the delusion that someone is calling me by my name as if from the mountains. It is me who am shouting my name, but because of the echo, it appears as if someone is calling me from that far distance, from the mountain. The same thing is happening in each and every individual. The only existent non-dual conscious principle, which is eternal, It is in the eternal present. It has no modification. It is eternal. It is in the eternal present. Sometime, if we ask a child to draw the picture of God, as the child has heard that God is eternal, He is there from eternal past. So what he will draw? He will draw the picture of an old man with white beard. Why he draws that? Because as per this, our present phenomenal world of existence is concerned, we know that with aging, we become old. As we age, we start becoming old. So that's the notion. But when we speak of that ultimate reality, it is not only eternal, it is ever aging, never old. It is in the eternal present. There is no modification in it. It is as it is. It was, it is, it will be in the eternal present. That when gets reflected to the embodied being. Now, that eternal self is as if saying, I am eternal. I am beyond all desires. I am ever fulfilled. Nothing can annihilate me. So these are the things as if the self is articulating. And that is echoed from the reflection in the body-mind complex. What? I am eternal. I am ever fulfilled. I have no desire. I am beyond annihilation. When that echo, hearing that echo, now the self gets confused, it gets deluded. It thinks as if the body-mind complex is eternal. It is something which is ever fulfilled. But it is not. It can never be. It is just a flow. But hearing that delusion, that voice because of delusion, now it tries to realize the eternity through the body-mind complex, which is never possible. But the entire evolution from the microbe till the human being has actually happened because of that delusion, where the self being reflected in the body-mind complex as the ego wants to realize the eternity, wants to realize the ultimate satisfaction through the body-mind complex. Just say, let's take a small microbe. What it is doing, if you try to see through the microscope that what the microbe is doing, it is moving around in the petri dish, and now you give a single drop of nutrient in the center. All those randomly moving microbes now gathers a direction. They move towards it. If I give, instead of nutrient, if I give some toxin, it runs away from it. The direction changes, it goes away from it. Why? Because the same eternal self, when it gets reflected through the microbe body, something from within is echoing, you're eternal. But I find that a little change in the external circumstances doesn't allow me to realize my eternity. The nutrient do favor me by getting nourished, but the toxin is there which is going to kill me. So now to realize that echo which I hear from within because of that ego, that you're eternal, we are trying to realize that through our body-mind complex. From the bacteria it has started to the human being, the same thing is going on. You just go to the internet and search, you will find that so many experiments is going on how to stop aging. That nowadays we say that spirituality in some way is the fad of the day because people are so much interested in yoga. But is it really the spirituality? If you go to all these yoga, the so-called centers, you will find it is actually the motivation behind it is how to be beyond disease, how to enjoy life without disease, without aging, how to live a long life. That's the yoga, the so-called the yoga which we find, that's the basic aim. Why? The same ego which is acting in the bacteria, the same ego is acting here within us. That something within me is saying you're eternal, you won't die, you cannot die, you're eternal. But I find the body dies. I am trying to realize that eternity through the body-mind complex, which is never possible. But because of this delusion from the bacteria to the human being, the evolution has happened. How it has happened? When the bacteria found, the microbe found that a little change in the external stimulus is going to kill it. What it does? Now it starts fighting with the nature. This fighting with the nature entails in evolution. The individual cells, they will start conglomerating, coming together. There will be division of labor. To fight with the nature in a better way, let us have division of labor. You take care of respiration, I take care of circulation, you take care of digestion. So these cells conglomerate and they specializes in various functions so that they can fight with the nature in a much more better way. And that's what's the evolution. We find that how specialized our body has become compared to that single cellular organism. It was a fight against the nature to realize the echo of the eternity which is coming through that ego. Constant it is coming. That's what is going on. That has resulted in the entire process of evolution. At last, in the human being, what's the speciality of a human being? As a human being, we have the capacity to realize that it is delusion. The self is ever perfect. There is no need for it to realize eternity. It is already eternal. There is no need for it to go beyond all wants. It is always satiated. It is Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa. It is Sat Swarupa. What it means? Sat Swarupata means that it is ever existent. It is a Trikal Avadita is Satya, whose existence is not interrupted by any phase of time, past, present or future. It was. That's why it is Sat. Sat means that can never be annihilated. And then the next doubt comes. Yes, even in science we find they say that consciousness is an epiphenomenon. Nothing can be destroyed as matter, as energy, which is inert. It's there. They have conglomerated to somehow generate consciousness. So here the scripture, because of the realization of the rishis, they assert, no, it's just the opposite. Consciousness alone is the phenomenon. Everything else is epiphenomenon. It is a consciousness alone which exists. That is the Chit Swarupata. That ultimate reality which is indestructible is conscious. It's not inert. And then it is Ananda. It is full of bliss. It is beyond all want. That's what's meant by Ananda Swarupata. That getting echoed through the body-mind complex is because of delusion tries to realize that Sat Chit Ananda Swarupata through the body-mind complex, which is never possible. As a human being, I realize that I just have to disassociate myself from that reflection, from the ego. And I have to do nothing. I'm already that. The thing which I'm trying to realize through the body-mind complex, I'm already that. It was because of my that delusional chase after eternity, I went through this entire process of evolution. So in Vedanta, though they believe in evolution, but that theory of evolution doesn't speak of a straight line where the evolution, complexity of evolution goes on and on. No. A time comes where human being is at the apex of that evolution. It realizes that it is already perfect and then it goes back to its eternal nature by renouncing its attempt to realize eternity through body-mind complex. No need. So I am already that. So it again returns from where it has began. It was eternal. Somehow because of delusion, it was chasing after eternity, chasing after fulfillment. And then it realized that if this chase is futile, it is already that. You just have to dissociate from that wrong understanding. So this is the entire gamut of our journey. Each and every creature, knowingly, that's why Swami Vivekananda used to say, we all, whether we believe in spirituality or not, whether we ascribe ourselves as a spiritual practitioner or not, we are all practicing spirituality. From the microbe to the illumined soul, all are in the spiritual journey, knowingly or unknowingly. We all go through the delusion. When the delusion is there, we are going through that process of evolution. At last, a time comes, it is bound to come, where we realize that we are already perfect. And then the process of disassociation starts. That renunciation starts, taking us back from where we started. We gained nothing. We were just forgot our real nature. It is just the remembrance. Again, that we remember back. That in Vedanta they give a very nice example. A lady is bearing a necklace. And she was busy with the household duty, and suddenly she felt that she has lost the necklace. It's not there. She is searching, frantically searching, where is the necklace? And then someone points, wow, what a fool you are. It is there, just check. It has got somehow hidden in the folds of the garment which you are wearing. It is there. And she just touches the neck, and then she finds, yes, it's already there. It was already there. She just forgot about its existence with her. And when she realized that it was already there, and then nothing to gain. It was already with her. She just forgot about it. So that's the thing. That's why in Bhagavad Gita, in our scriptures, they never speak of prapti. Prapti means to attain. They never speak. They say apti. Prapti means apraptasya prapti. That the thing which I don't have, to get that is prapti. Like I don't have a particular brand of watch. I want it. I somehow collect the money and then I buy it. The thing which I never had, now I have. But attaining the self is not prapti. It is apti. What is apti? Praptasya prapti. The thing which I already have, but somehow I have forgotten about it. And then I again regain my awareness about it, and then I find I was never imperfect. I am that. So now you will understand that what's Ramakrishna. That's why we say that Ramakrishna's words are so simple, but they are like mantras. Mantras are like encrypted scriptural understanding. The lot of spiritual wisdom is encrypted as if in the mantra. So in the words of Ramakrishna, it appears to be so simple, but the entire gamut of this, the Vedanta's idea, is actually encrypted on the simple words. So now just relate to these words. Maya is nothing but the egotism of the embodied soul. The egotism has covered everything like a veil. All trouble comes to an end when the ego dies. You will again back here, again original nature. If by the grace of God, a man but once realizes that he is not the doer, that he at once becomes a Jivan Mukta, a Jivan Mukta. Though living in the body, he is liberated. He has nothing else to fear. So that's why we find even in Vivek Churamani, Shankaracharya is proclaiming Jivan Mukti Sukha Prapti Hetave Janmadharana. The human birth, the only purpose of it is to attain this state of Jivan Mukti. This idea of Jivan Mukti is wonderful. That Vedanta doesn't say that you have to die to attain liberation. Here, here itself, in this very life, you can test the bliss of liberation. You need not have to die and go to heaven to that. It is not something post-mortem. Here itself, you can realize the bliss of the liberation. And the human birth is only for that. That's what Shankaracharya is proclaiming. In simple words, Sri Ramakrishna is also again and again saying in the Gospel, Bhagavan labhi jivane uddeshya. The only aim of life is to attain God. Attaining God means to realize that you are not this small petty self. You are one with the divinity which is eternal. That is the attainment of God. So how that is possible? By the grace of God, that is possible. Swami Vivekananda in the Complete Works very nicely he says that if you look at the entire human civilization, because of delusion, what we are doing, we are trying to intensify our sense pleasures. The entire civilization, you will find, is in the mad rush for the intensification of the sense pleasures. But Swamiji is saying a very interesting thing, that however we may try with all our advanced technology to really enjoy the pleasures of the senses, can we really do it? Our life is not for that. As a human being, we are not designed to intensify to the maximum level the pleasures of the senses. Impossible. And then he's saying, just see, with all our technology, what we are doing, the nature has already given to the other animals. Can we have as intense sense of smell as a dog? No. However we may try, with all our technology. Can we have that intense vision, like an owl? It can see even the infrared light at night in the dark, it can see. You will find that the senses of the other animals are very keen. The way they enjoy the meal, we can never even imagine. Tremendous that satisfaction is there. So Swamiji is saying that as a human being, that is not our uniqueness. However we may try to intensify the pleasures of the senses, know it for certain that nature has designed the animals for that. That is for them. For the human being, the uniqueness is that we can search the meaning of life. What's the purpose behind it? And to attain that, after attaining that, understanding that purpose, to reach that state. The state, and what's that state? The state of attainment of liberation. That even when I am in the body, I know I am the self. For certain I know it. And nothing affects me. It's not that the life changes, that suffering goes away. Suffering remains. Everything remains. But I transcend the suffering. That's why we know that all the mystics of the world, as Sri Ramakrishna used to say, they all howl in the same manner. Their realization is the same. The religion, all the various denominational religions, we will find the differences in the doctrines and dogmas. But if you go to the exemplary figures, the most illumined characters who have touched the soul, who have went to that realization, their language is something where we find a wonderful unity, that they transcend suffering. It is not that Jesus avoided crucifixion. He could have. He was tempted by Satan to avoid crucifixion. If you read those who have read the Bible, they all know. He could have easily avoided the crucifixion. No, it is not. Spirituality is not meant for avoiding the sufferings of life. What it is for, that though when I am crucified, still in that state I can say, "Oh Lord, please forgive them. They don't know what they're doing." Can you just imagine that how he has transcended the suffering by being exalted in that high spiritual illumination? That's the real spirituality. When you are established in the self, death becomes nothing. All the sufferings becomes nothing. Because you know you are not that. You are just witnessing. There's a very funny story. There's a Greek philosopher, Diogenes, always used to say, the world is a dream. And one day, all the so-called the young boys of the city, they were loafers. And they wanted to teach Diogenes a lesson. And they adopted a very cruel means. They tied him behind a horse carriage and dragged him on the rough road. After a certain distance, they stopped. They just removed all the chains. And then they asked, "Is the world a dream?" The Diogenes, a very wonderful answer he gave. Yeah, it's still a dream. Maybe it's a painful dream, but it's still a dream. It's a painful dream, but it's still a dream. So that's the thing. Whether suffering, whether joy of this body, I have transcended. I know I am the self. As Sri Ramakrishna, when he was suffering from cancer, his last days, when anyone used to come, "Sir, how are you?" His answer used to be, "Shorir tar dukkho jane, mon tumi anande thako. Mon tumi anande thako." The body knows its suffering. O mind, be at bliss. You have dissociated. He used to say that a realized soul is just like a ripened coconut. An unripe coconut, you will find that when you shake it, it doesn't make any noise because the kernel and the shell are intertwined for an unripe coconut. How to know that the coconut has ripened? When it gets ripened, you shake it, the kernel has got separated from the shell. It will make a noise because the kernel has got separated from the shell. So Sri Ramakrishna is saying a realized soul is just like a ripened coconut. The essence of his being is no more identified with the body-mind complex. It has got separated. The kernel has got separated from this shell. So that happens by the grace of God. When at last one realizes that he is not the doer. It is because of the ego, the idea of agency comes, that I am doing something. The moment you find that in that same example, in the bacteria, in that microbe, moment the ego evolves, that I am this microbe body, then the question of being moving towards the nutrient and running away from the toxin comes. The idea of doership comes from the idea of ego. The moment you know nothing can affect you, where is the question of doer? So the self behind the body-mind complex is not the doer. The moment the ego comes, then the question of action comes. Then the question of agency of the action comes. So when a man has realized God by the grace of God, at once he realizes he is not the doer. He is just beyond the witness, the shining self, which is in no way associated with the body-mind complex. Because of its presence, everything is happening. The nature becomes alive because of its presence. But in no way it can tarnish it. Just the way when we see a snake in a rope in the twilight hours, because of the lack of light, we have become delusional. We see a snake in the rope. But does that snake has the capacity to bite that rope? No. When we see a mirage, huge reservoir, while traveling through the desert, does that huge reservoir has the capacity to drench even a single sand particle? No. So it in no way can affect the reality behind it. So that's the thing which he is saying, that but once he gets that he is not the doer, then he at once becomes Jivan Mukta. There is no question of bondage. That wonderful example of Jivan Mukta Swami Vivekananda gives, that when Swami Vivekananda is saying that when as a wandering monk I was traveling through the desert of Rajasthan and I was thirsty, I was in search of water, and then suddenly I saw a huge reservoir. As I was thirsty, I started moving towards it. And after some time, I saw as I was moving, in no way the reservoir was coming near. I was not going nearer to the reservoir. The distance appeared to be same, and suddenly it vanished. It was not there. And then that idea came, that it must be a mirage. From the childhood, I have read it in my textbook, that in desert you see this mirage. And I had that idea that I know what mirage is. I had the intellectual conviction that I am aware of what mirage is. But that was just an intellectual conviction. For the first time I realized what is mirage. I was thirsty, seeing the reservoir, I was drawn towards it, it vanished, and then I understood, I have realized. It is no more just an intellectual idea. I have realized it. Now what's the difference? This difference speaks of Jivan Mukta. The next day again I am traveling through the desert. Again I am thirsty. As I am in my body-mind senses, I still see the mirage. Again I see that reservoir. But today there is a big difference. Yesterday it dragged me. Today it has lost the power to drag me. I know it is just a mirage. It cannot drag me anymore. That's the state of Jivan Mukta. Liberated while living. You know for certain it is a projection. It in no way can affect the real me. And it has lost the power to influence you in any way. And that's the state of Jivan Mukta. So then he at once becomes a Jivan Mukta. Though living in the body, he is liberated. So he need not have to die. Just in this body, he enjoys the state of liberation. And for that is the human birth. No other animal can do that. It is because of delusion we are going towards that with all technology to intensify the senses. But human beings are not meant for that. The real purpose of the human birth is this, to enjoy that state of liberation even while in the body, even while living. He has nothing else to fear. He goes beyond all fear. So that's what you find, that all the persecutions which has happened in all the religions, that when a man goes to the realization, he speaks of that unified existence. And that doesn't tally with the so-called doctrines and dogmas. And the so-called the constitutional religion starts persecuting. But they are all so much settled in their conviction. Nothing can waver their conviction. Their Dhrida Nishchaya, they are very much firm in their conviction. Because they have seen the truth. It's not just a make-believe. It is just not an intellectual consent. It is something which they have realized. And that realized has made them fearless, because they know for certain nothing can annihilate them. Death is nothing. So they never deviate from what they have realized. Even when the others, everyone is censoring that you cannot say that, they stick to what they have seen, because they know nothing can destroy them. The truth is truth. It cannot be established by voting. For us, those who are in the world of ignorance, for us the truth is consensual truth. It is not the absolute truth. When I see a flower as red, you also see it as red. We all give a vote that it is red, it becomes red. Actually, it has no color. Discussion also we will come to it. So what we are saying as truth is not the absolute. It is all consensus reality. We all consent to be. We are all voting it to be reality. Only a man of realization has gone beyond that, and he can see the truth just as it is. It can say the naked king as naked. No one else can do that. And that's the thing which Ramakrishna is saying. If by the grace of God, a man but once realizes that he is not the doer, then he at once becomes a Jivan Mukta. Though living in the body, he is liberated. He has nothing to fear. This Maya, that is to say the ego, is like a cloud. The sun cannot be seen on account of a thin patch of cloud. When that disappears, one sees the sun. If by the grace of the Guru, one's ego vanishes, then one sees God. So the sun, which is illuminating the entire earth, just a small speck of cloud comes and it gets shadowed. So that's what he says. This ignorance is so insignificant. How insignificant it is? Just like when you were dreaming. Somehow I was dreaming that something is chasing me. I'm trying to run, but it is overpowering me. And that nightmare, my dream breaks, and then I find, oh, everything is okay, nothing has happened. And then I know how silly it is. But when I was in dream, it appeared to be so real. I was terrified, I had that nightmare, but it was all dream. So same thing happens here because of that ignorance. The real nature has got obscured, and we think we are suffering. And we may say the God is sadist. Doesn't he know that what creation he has made, this imperfection creation, all are suffering? And that's where the Vedanta says it's all just that, like the nightmare. It's a dreaming. Nothing has changed. That wonderful story of Narada is there. That Narada wanted to know what is Maya. So one day he asked Krishna, can you explain me what is Maya? Krishna just told, okay, I will explain you. But first you get me, I'm very thirsty. They were just walking together, and so Krishna told, I'm very thirsty in this hot, sultry weather. First you fetch me a glass of water, and then I will explain you what Maya is. And then Narada, these stories are wonderful. It's Swami Vivekananda in his Jnana, one of his lectures, he's just narrating this story. And then Narada goes to the nearby village to fetch a glass of water. He knocks at the door of one of the villages. The door is opened by one of the most beautiful girls. Narada starts conversing with her. And in the process of conversation, he develops love. And he was so much infatuated with that love, at last he proposes, he asks the girl's father to give her in marriage. The father was happy, they were married, they started living together, they had children. 2 children, his father was quite rich, So he inherited that property and he was leading a very prosperous, happy life with wife and this these children. Two children and with the wife was living happily. And suddenly one day, after many years, there was a huge flood. There was a heavy rain and the river which was flowing by the side of the village that overflowed. The water started entering the village and now all had to escape. So Narada at the dead of night, realizing that the flood is going to simply wash off all the house, the village, they thought of somehow crossing the river and going to the other shore, which was a bit higher, so that they can save themselves. But to cross the river was itself a big challenge. So now the water was not deep, but the force, because of the flood, the force was tremendous. So when Narada tried to swim across this river, in one hand he was holding his wife, in the other hand the child, and this younger child who couldn't even walk, he kept him on his shoulders. Now when he was on the middle of the river, because of the strong current, the one which was in the shoulder, it got washed away. And because of the reflex, he tried to save, he just loosened the hold with which he was holding the elder child, that he loosened and tried to grab the child who was getting washed away. And in the process, this child also started getting washed away. So both the child were getting washed away, and in order to save, in his attempt to save them, wife also got washed away. And he found he has also lost control. He was also being carried by the current, but somehow he got stuck in some rock near the other bank, and he was saved. He somehow could get up on the bank and could find that his wife, couldn't find his wife and children. All were washed away. And now he was piteously crying. Everything is gone, all gone. Piteously crying. And then suddenly he sensed someone is tapping his shoulder. He turned around and saw Krishna. He is asking, "Just now I asked you to fetch me a glass of water. Where is it?" So Narada now realized what is Maya. In just a moment, it was just a few moments back, he asked him to fetch a glass of water, and Narada thought years have passed. He had family, he had children, he had wife, nice family, everything was washed away. All this happened just in a moment. So that's the thing. The space, time, causation, everything is within this Maya. When you go beyond it, you are in eternal present. No transformation. You are just as it is. That is the meaning of the word Purana. You will find in Sanskrit the word Purana is used whenever you try to relate to the divine Purush. That Purana, God is Purana Purusha. What is the meaning of the word Purana? Pura api navaiva. Ever aging, never old. Pura means old. Navaiva means new. That though it is aging, it is ever new. It is in the eternal present. There is no modification. It is as it is. Because of the Maya. Here, through that story, that we can realize that in a moment, everything Narada saw. When Krishna came and tapped, that immediately all the delusion went off. Then he realized. And Narada realized what Maya is. So this is the idea which in Vedanta is again and again reflected. That the human birth is somehow, by the grace of God, to go to that realization when you realize that you are already that. All the eternal chase after perfection of satiation is just delusion. You are already eternal. You are already ever satiated, ever fulfilled. There is no need, no want for you. So that's the thing which Sri Ramakrishna is also indicating. This Maya, that is to say, the ego is like a cloud. The sun cannot be seen on account of the thin patch of cloud. When that disappears, one sees the sun. It was there. It is just that patch of cloud covered it for some time. It's gone. It is. The sun never vanished. It was there. When I was not seeing, then also it was there. Previously also it was there. When the cloud is gone, it is still there. It has not changed. Because of the cloud, I felt for the time being that it is not there. So that's the thing. It is only because of ignorance. It sometimes appears to be disappearing, sometimes appears to be changing, but It's all nothing but ignorance. It is if by the grace of the Guru one's ego vanishes, then one sees God. That we are that divine being. Because of ignorance, we are appearing as this limited being. By the grace of that Guru, our Guru, when that ignorance falls off, we become one with that absolute reality. Rama, who is God himself, was only 2.5 cubits ahead of Lakshmana. But Lakshmana couldn't see him because Sita stood between them. Lakshmana may be compared to the Jiva and Sita to Maya. Man cannot see God on account of the barrier of Maya. Just look, I am creating a barrier in front of my face with this towel. So Sri Ramakrishna himself was just animating. He just himself took a towel and put it in front of his face. Now you can't see me, even though I am so near. Likewise, God is the nearest of all, but we cannot see him on account of this covering of Maya. He's not far away. He's here. He's in the core of my being. He's the essence of my existence. He only exists. Because of that ignorance, we cannot see him. We see him as the world. The world is not true as the world, but the world is true as God. Just even with that common example, just now we were saying that when we say the flower red, it is just a consensual reality, consensus reality. It's not the absolute. How we are seeing the red flower? With a simple example, we can find that the world which we are seeing is nothing but a construed reality, is a virtual reality. How? Just say that when I am seeing the red flower, I think the flower is red. But actually, is the flower red? No. I don't know what it is. It is, there is something, but I can never realize what actually it is. Why? That when the light falls on it, it gets reflected. All the wavelengths are absorbed, when a particular wavelength is reflected that has no color. It touches the retina of your eye. After that, the light doesn't go to your brain. The moment it touches the retina, it gets converted into some nerve current, to the optic nerve. It's some nerve current. It's just like an electric current. When it reaches your brain, what is reaching there? Your brain is perfectly dark. If you were inside your brain, there is no light. Some nerve current like an electric impulse goes, and the moment it reaches the color perception center, it's not color perception center. A particular nerve impulse has reached there, and the color is actually projected from there. That redness is projected from there. It goes and envelops the flower to give it the sensation that it is red. So what I am seeing is not what is outside. Something is there, I don't know what it is. What I am seeing is what I am projecting. Our mind is a wonderful projector. When you go to a movie, at the most, a 3D movie, what it projects? Only light and sound. And that is a very poor imitation of nature. The human mind is projecting the 5 senses. Light, sound, smell, touch, taste. These 5 senses it is projecting to create this panorama. It's a projection. What it is like? Just like a white light passing through the prism. Our mind is like the prism. When white light passes through the prism, it breaks into the spectrum of 7 colors. Actually, not 7 colors, innumerable colors. We see just the 7. It is breaking into the spectrum of innumerable colors. So this world is nothing but the spectrum. When the white light, the consciousness gets associated with the mind, it projects itself as this world of reality. And we think it is why we think it is reality? Because we all are projecting in the same way. We are all hallucinating in the same way. Those who have some brain defect, you will find, we say he has some brain defect. Previously we used to say his brain is abnormal. That's why he has color blind. But now if you go to any neurologist, he will say he's a bit different. He won't say that he's having some defect. He will say he's a bit different. Because now the science knows we all are hallucinating. We all are hallucinating in the same way. He is hallucinating in a different way. So that way he is the minority. Ours is the majority. We all vote together to say this is red. He cannot do that. because he's projecting, hallucinating in a different way, and we say you are wrong. So it's actually not wrong. He is just hallucinating in a bit different way. But we are all, the fact is, we are all hallucinating. It's all projection. So now we will understand the only consciousness alone is there, which is projected as this world of name and form, of this world of this panorama. Once you go to that, beyond the mind, to understand the self, if you remove the prism, what will happen? The spectrum will again merge in the white light. The spectrum is not there at all. So in spiritual life, it is possible. All the mystics have done that. They have gone beyond the mind. For some time, the mind has stopped. The entire creation has merged with that absolute reality. From that, when they come, they know that it is the absolute, which is appearing as this world of universe. Now you will understand that it is always there with us. Because of that, mind becomes like that screen, which is not allowing me to see the reality as it is. It is being projected as this universe. It is so near me. But because of that screen, I cannot see it. I see it as something different. And that's the meaning of the word Maya. Maya means, the Maya is constituted of these two syllables, Ma and Ya. Ya means as it is. In Sanskrit, Ya means Yatha Yatha, as it is. And Ma is a negation of that. That what you are seeing is not as it is. It is something different. That's the meaning of the word Maya. So how it has happened? Because of the well of ignorance which comes between me it comes between me and this existence as that mind, as a cosmic mind. We all are part of that cosmic mind. That's why we all hallucinate in the same way. That we all actually have that same mind. That's why we all hallucinate in the same way. If we all had different mind, we would all have hallucinated in a different way, and we could have never related to each other. We all form a part of that cosmic mind. That's why we are all hallucinating in the same way. The moment that mind comes into picture, because of ignorance, we can never see the reality. We see the reality as something different. So that's the meaning of the word Maya, not as it is. What you are seeing is not as it is. That's why you'll find we are constantly hallucinating. When we are standing in front of the ocean, we see the blue sky touching the ocean. Is it really touching the ocean? No. We can never trust what we see. Even in modern science, there are so many experiments. You will find if a stick is lying on the ground, it doesn't appear that long. If you make it erect, it appears very long. The same stick. Why when it is erect, it appears long? Because height can kill me. If I jump from a certain height, I will crash and die. So that's why, out of necessity, the nature has devised that when you see height, you see it very long. You see it more prolonged. Because you have to be cautious about the height. So when anything, the same stick, when it is lying on the ground, it may appear very short. When you just keep it erect, it appears very, very long. So just see, out of necessity, our perceptions changes. It's not what it is. Constantly, there are innumerable experiments in science. So that we are constantly hallucinating. Our senses are constantly making us see the things not as it is. Then how it is showing us? Just the way it can enable us to sustain ourselves. Very interesting. Thousands of years back, Shankaracharya is speaking of two reality. Atyantika Satya, Vyavaharika Satya. Absolute reality and the reality as per our day-to-day life is concerned. That is not reality. But because of our day-to-day life, for our working, we have to construe the reality in such a way that it enables us to sustain us for the time being as a limited being till we go to the realization. That's Vyavaharik Satya. So, and that's the Vyavaharik Satya is the result of that Maya. And that's what Sri Ramakrishna is, in a simple example, is saying that Rama is there, Sita is in between, Lakshmana is behind. Lakshmana cannot see Rama, the God, because Sita as the Maya is obscuring the reality. Just in a simple way. And then he puts a towel in front of him and says, see, I'm just sitting in front of you. You cannot see me just because of this towel. So similarly, the Maya obscures the reality. It doesn't allow us to see the reality as it is. So Maya creates the upadhis. That I am this, upadhis means all those adjuncts which that I am learned, he is full, I am rich, he is poor. All these adjuncts again is a product of Maya. So that's the Jiva is nothing but the embodiment of Satchidananda. But since Maya or ego has created various upadhis, he has forgotten his real self. Each upadhi changes man's nature. If he wears a fine black bordered cloth, you will at once find him humming Nidhu Babu's love songs. Then in Bengal, that was the fad of those days. So that some people in the evening to socialize, to have party, will go to some gathering where they will have all those, just for entertainment purpose, they will have some songs, these love songs and all. And as the fashion of those days, that generally the dhoti, they won't wear black colored dhoti, but for going to such type of social party, they will wear that black colored dhoti and go there. So by chance, if you are wearing black colored dhoti, you will find automatically that those type of songs are coming out from you. That how the external circumstances affect us, influence us. That's Sri Ramakrishna is saying. That immediately, as per the circumstance, we associate ourselves with particular upadhi, with particular adjuncts, we associate ourselves. So each upadhi changes man's nature. If he wears a fine black bordered cloth, you will at once find him humming Nidhu Babu's love songs. Then playing cards and a walking stick follow. So those was the culture. So they will play card, they will just sing all those love songs, and they will have a walk. Though their walking stick was a style, it was a fashion. It's not that they needed it as a prop because of some abnormality, because of some deficiency, because of being lame. No, nothing like that. It was just like a fashion to have a walking stick. So they will have a walking stick, they will be playing cards, they will be humming Nidhu Babu's love songs. If even a sickly man puts on high boots, he begins to whistle and climbs the stairs like an Englishman, jumping from one step to another. So just how by being associated with particular type of circumstances, your nature changes. If a man holds a pen in his hand, he scribbles on any paper he can get hold on. Such is the power of the pen. What it all speaks of, what he's saying. A very interesting thing. Again, let us go back to that example, that small microbe, how it gets affected by the stimulus. Something nutrient, it is getting drawn towards it. Something toxic, it is running away from it. What it speaks? The moment the ego develops, immediately we start responding to a stimuli in a particular way, and that starts creating mental modules. We have innumerable mental modules. That when, see, for the microbe, when something favorable is there, it is drawn towards it. The response is move towards it. If toxin is there, run away from it. So response is going away from it. So for particular situation, for particular circumstance, particular stimuli response conditioning is happening, and that gets stored in our psyche. They get saved in our psyche. They are not lost. And this creates these innumerable mental modules. We don't have one mind. Our mind has innumerable mental modules. And at a time, in the modern psychology, this is actually what modern psychology said. You will find how nicely you can explain what Sri Ramakrishna is saying. That, see, these are all mental modules. How it has evolved, at last you will trace it in the ego. Once the ego comes, the various responses to various type of stimuli comes, and they all create a particular type of mental module, and that constitutes your mind. At a particular situation, only one module gets activated. All others are dormant. Which module will get activated? There is no commander in the mind to say that, oh, you get activated. No. Then how come a particular module gets activated? Depending on the circumstance. If there is a nutrient, only that module which says go towards it, that will get activated. If there is toxin, the module which says run away from it, that will get activated. So as per the external circumstances, among all those innumerable mental modules, which all are again hooked to the ego, they're all clubbed with the ego, they're all tied with the ego. but they're innumerable. One of them is getting active. Which one? As per the external circumstances. And when it gets active, I start believing that it is I who have decided. And that the microbe is moving towards the nutrient. The ego says it is you have, but actually it has not decided. Automatically that mental module got activated and it is bound to go towards it, but that while going towards it, somehow the mind gives the feeling it is you who have decided. That's how we are being fooled. We are thinking I am the agent. We are not the agent. Constantly in life this is happening, that as per the circumstances you will find I become a total different person. The same me when I am in the office with my colleagues, I am a total different person. The same person when I am with family, with my children, with my wife, I am a different person. I am with my friends in some club, I am a different person. And you don't have to decide. Naturally you will find your nature has changed. The entire world of advertisement is based on that. You just go to any TV channel, see their news, the advertisement is there, and if you are intent and observant enough, you will find all the advertisements are based on the fact that they're trying to activate a particular mental module by which I get motivated to buy their product. Just to give a common example, it's a very crude example, but you will find how true it is. That the latest model car, what it has to do with that beautiful model standing in by the side of it, it has nothing to do. But why? It is intended to activate a particular module in your mind so that you buy that car. It's as simple as that. So you will find in the entire world of advertisement is based on that. So the moment the ego comes into picture of this entire, all these modules, one module will get activated to give you a feeling that you are the one who are deciding, but actually the modules have decided. External environment has decided. It is not you. And your nature, that's why the external circumstances has a tremendous power over us. We should never think that I'm strong enough to be in all those things and nothing will happen. No. Know it for certain. As long as the ego is there, with all these mental modules have the free rein to get activated as per the circumstances. And we start behaving in a very peculiar way in spite of ourselves. And that's you will find what he's saying. We get attributed with so many that when the moment you wear the black colored cloth, you will at once find him humming Nidhu Babu's love songs, playing cards, walking stick follow, a sickly man. The moment he wears high boot, that immediately that influence works. He has seen that Englishman jumping over the stairs, fully energetic. He also suddenly, without having any so-called energetic drink or anything, just by wearing that boot, he starts jumping over the steps like an Englishman. If a man holds a pen, immediately starts scribbling. So these are the things that how the circumstances activates our module and makes us behave in a particular way, making us think that I am such and such. It's not so. We are being tricked by the nature. So, and why it's happening? Again, at last, that ego. That ego, as long as it is there, we are bound to act in such a funny way in our life. So that's the thing Sri Ramakrishna. So as per the environment or circumstances, a particular mental module gets activated, making us behave in a particular way over which we have almost no control till we can go beyond the ego, till we become a Jivan Mukta. So you will find a wonderful thing, how observant Sri Ramakrishna is, that illiterate, so-called illiterate man. Just going to that, through his spiritual journey, in a super fast pace, in the 12 years, he's just uncovering the wells of this ignorance, one after one, to reach the citadel of this experience, spiritual experience. And from that, he finds no other so-called worldly academic knowledge is required. He has a sharp observation, and whatever he's speaking in simple words appears to be simple, but it's profound, very profound. So with this, we stop our discussion. We'll continue with the remaining portion of Sri Ramakrishna's conversion with Vijay Goswami again in the next class. Thank you all. Namaskar.